Что-то еще летит. Пиздец у нас тут.
Ukrainian aviation continues to demonstrate its effectiveness with daily precision strikes against Russian positions, exposing both the weaknesses and the overstretched state of Russia's air defenses. A recent strike saw a Ukrainian MiG-29 deploying a French-supplied Aasm hammer-guided bomb against a Russian command observation post in Nestoryanka, Zaporizhia region. These operations are not isolated incidents, but part of a systematic campaign aimed at degrading Russian command structures, logistics, and troop concentrations across the front. Each successful strike highlights Ukraine's growing ability to integrate Western-supplied precision munitions with its Soviet-era aircraft, while simultaneously underscoring Russia's inability to fully shield its units from aerial attacks. Despite Moscow's claims of layered protection with systems like the Buk and Pantsir, Ukrainian aviation keeps punching through, proving that Russian air defense is spread too thin to cover every vulnerable position. The steady pace of such operations signals that Kyiv intends to maintain relentless pressure, denying Russia the stability it seeks along the front lines. The Topaz plant in occupied Donetsk was left in ruins after a powerful combined missile and drone strike yesterday. Once a key site for Russian military production and repair, the facility has now been reduced to smoldering wreckage, with secondary explosions reported as stored equipment and ammunition ignited. The precision of the strike ensured a direct hit on the main production halls, leaving little chance for the plant to resume operations. This devastation not only cripples Russian logistics, but also sends a clear signal that no military target deep in occupied territory is beyond Ukraine's reach. Ukrainian drones destroyed a Russian field ammunition depot overnight. The exact location is not yet known. Destroying Russian field ammunition depots is one of the most effective ways to weaken their offensive capabilities and disrupt battlefield operations. Without steady supplies of shells, rockets, and small arms ammunition, Russian units are forced to limit fire, reducing the intensity of their assaults and defensive barrages. Every depot destroyed means longer resupply routes, more logistical strain, and higher vulnerability of convoys trying to bring ammunition forward under constant Ukrainian surveillance. This not only slows Russia's ability to sustain prolonged engagements, but also undermines troop morale when artillery support becomes unreliable. By systematically targeting these stockpiles, Ukraine effectively strikes at the backbone of Russia's firepower advantage. Russian war blogger Roman Alakin is at the center of a major scandal after he was caught on video arranging a multi-million-dollar fraud and theft of aid to Russian troops fighting in Ukraine. Other war bloggers warn that it threatens to devastate volunteer fundraising. A secretly recorded video, reported by REN TV, shows Alakin explaining how he is going to launder a 200 million ruble, $2.4 million donation from a businessman. He will buy 150 million worth of medical supplies for the troops from the same businessman. At the same time, Alakin will receive 50 million rubles, $600,000, as a commission, while the troops will receive only 3/4 of the medical supplies that they were promised. He openly discusses forging the paperwork to conceal the details of the transaction. What needs to be done is to ensure that our documents are clean, from start to finish, so that when they come after the war, they can come to everyone. And it is important that it goes further, that it even goes all the way, so that according to the documents, everything is fine with us. We have signed. That is, there are no questions. Everything is closed. He also implies that he is working with trustworthy commanders. He mentions the 810th Guards Naval Infantry Brigade, who are presumably in on the scam. He boasts that I will become an advisor to the governor. Here, number one after me will be the governor, standing in line. Then I can become a social technologist for all of Russia. I'm saying I'll be number one. That is, now I have a great position. I'm a public figure. If anyone has any complaints about me, I owe them nothing. I don't owe anyone anything. Alekin is not only a very prominent war blogger, but a high-profile fundraiser for so-called humanitarian aid collections. The Russian war effort depends hugely on supplies and donations provided by volunteers. The army's ability to sustain itself in the field in Ukraine would be seriously threatened by a loss of humanitarian aid. The news has prompted an explosion of denunciations, concern about the scandal's impact on voluntary fundraising and aid provision, and calls for him to atone with his own blood. Two Majors writes, "Well, Roman, you have discredited the entire volunteer movement with your video, and us personally. Whether you discussed this with the aim of reporting the author of the scheme to the police, or actually admitted that it is acceptable to break the law for the sake of helping the front or personal gain, is irrelevant. The very fact that you discussed this topic with anyone, and even allowed it to be brought up in conversation under any pretext, means that you have discredited the volunteers on the front lines. Do you think the other war bloggers weren't approached? They were, and they were harshly rebuffed at the first hint. There's nothing to think about here. Merit is one thing, responsibility is another, and there is a way to wash away this shame. This time, only in a normal way, which means going to fight in the front lines. After this incident, it will be even more difficult for honest volunteers, even for those who don't collect money. In a similar vein, Igor Gamalsky laments that, whatever the case, the blow to the volunteer movement, its normal part, has been dealt a terrible blow. Soldier of Fortune likewise calls it a huge slap of shit on the reputation of all volunteers. Alex Carrier comments, "Fuck, of course Alekin got caught red-handed, and judging by the video recordings, the case will end with a slap on the wrist. Well, if he stole, then let him go to jail. There's no room for corporate solidarity here. And so with the fees, it's hard to understand what's going on. And they are, in many ways, discredited. And then there are those who are smart enough to lay out their ingenious schemes on video, hehe." Sasha Kotz highlights the damage that the scandal is likely to inflict on the Russian volunteer movement because of Alekin's prominence as a fundraiser. Regardless of whether there was the actual fact of fraud and official forgery, or it didn't go beyond negotiations in the office, the video shows the head of a charity agreeing to a kickback as part of a scheme to help our fighters. The truth teller, who claimed to be the moral tuning fork of the humanitarian movement, who exposed corrupt officials and tyrants, who wrote "I have the honor" under every post, agrees on video to commit forgery in order to earn money to help the front. And there is no way to wash it off. Other war bloggers note that there was an earlier scandal involving Alekin's purchase of an expensive Chinese Zeekr 1 luxury car, which was rumored to have been acquired using stolen donations. Yakamento asks, "Were we wrong on the Solovyov Live channel when we said a year and two ago that war bloggers were an organized crime group robbing people during the war? We were right. The proof is before us." Many war bloggers predict that the scandal will not only lead to a catastrophic drop in donations, which have already fallen sharply due to war weariness, but increased scrutiny of volunteer fundraising by the authorities. PTSD Team Community comments, "I know for sure that the shadow will fall not only on those who collaborated with him in the blogosphere, but also on everyone who in one way or another is trying to help the front." Colonel Kassad predicts that the topic of licensing private humanitarian aid and the topic of special accounts more closely monitored by the state will receive additional attention. Earlier, it was stated that the consideration of the law on humanitarian aid will most likely be sometime in the fall. Accordingly, the line on strengthening state control and regulation will also receive additional support. Anastasia Kashevarova fears that the scandal will give corrupt tax officials the opportunity to help themselves to volunteer funds. In Alchevsk, the tax office knocked on the door of the admin of one of the public channels and added a percentage to his collections as income, and nothing can be done about it, and the same awaits other collectors. Nonetheless, she says, stricter regulation is genuinely needed to provide proper order and legal protection to the volunteer movement. 1. It is necessary to regulate volunteer activities. These are huge amounts of money that come not only from philanthropists, patrons, businessmen, but from ordinary people donating their hard-earned money to the front. So, as we can see from this story, every level of Russian society is infested with corruption. In Yarova, Donetsk region, a Russian airstrike hit civilians standing in line to receive pensions. At least 20 people were killed and 21 wounded. Emergency services, medics, and local authorities are working on site to assist victims and assess the full scale of the attack.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.